this is the only thing I could think of doing. And it's like, people were like, oh my God, this is like, this is horrible. And Hunter, and like, I was like screaming into the microphone and just being a belligerent dickhead. And Hunter was like, dude, get the fuck off the stage.
I called to say you'll always be a son among the stars. Although I fear I'm brought to tears to find out who you are. Let's laugh at photographs that will take turns and watch them burn. And it's all the same to me. I could not repeat.
Hello, welcome to 3 Gigs, the podcast that tells the stories of 3 shows that have had a profound effect on the performers' lives and careers. Their very first show, their worst show, and their best show. I'm your host, Dominic Davey, and today I'm speaking with Brian Gellman, guitarist and vocalist for the band Decent Criminal. Hey everyone, it's been a minute. I apologize for the lack of episodes. It's been far too long, but I've been way busier this last year than I thought I would be. While bands aren't playing shows, labels have been busier than ever with mail order, and a number of projects all at once has dominated my time. However, I'm back with a number of episodes that I think you're going to love. I've collected a few great interviews in the last year, and I'm really excited to finally be able to share these stories with you. Starting with this episode's guest, Brian Gellman from Decent Criminal. According to their bio, they have a sound reminiscent of 90s alternative punk, surf, and power pop. Northern California's Decent Criminal offers catchy, upbeat songs that mercilessly collide with an abrasive and often melancholy undertone. In 2014, brothers Hunter and Tristan Martinez took what was already an active touring act and rebuilt it from the ground up, giving the band a new sound and a new set of players. This new band quickly developed their own style with unique 3-part vocal harmonies throughout their songs. Most recently, the band will be releasing their brand new EP titled DC EP on Sell the Heart Records in the United States and Gunner Records in Europe. Longtime listeners will remember that Sell the Heart Records is owned by Andy Pohl, my bandmate in Tsunami Bomb, and he was a guest on episode 10, way back before he joined my band as our guitarist. I spoke to Brian Gellman, though, about his band and his first, best, and worst shows of all time.
My first show playing music when I was in 8th grade.
Eighth grade.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like, so we had this all the guys that were in my first rock band, we were all in the school band in the middle school.
That makes sense.
So we had the drummer, and then I played clarinet. And then the other guy
translates to rock. That translates.
Oh, sure does. Yeah, for sure. I use it all the time. But but like we were lucky enough to have the guy who was our music teacher. He let us just jam in the band room after school sometimes, and shortly after that, that turned into like us being able to play at lunch one time. And so we're like 8th graders. We're like had never played in a band or anything at that point. I mean, we'd been jamming for a couple months, so we were a legit band at that point. And then all of a sudden the bell rings, it's lunchtime, kick into teen spirit, of course, and the middle school went bananas.
Oh yeah? Everyone was into it?
It was a big hit. Like I don't think any of us were like I don't think anybody sang or anything at that point. We were just jamming out, but that band more or less like with members going in and out, like stuck together through before that, like I think we started jamming at like 7th grade and like all the way through high school, like different, renditions of the same band. So it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you kind of caught the bug. Like, I mean, Smells Like Teen Spirit is kind of a fun one to come in on, but like that beginning and everyone going crazy. So that kind of like, that's when you caught it. Like, that's when you're like, oh yeah, I want to do this again.
Oh yeah, it was real fun. I mean, I think I just always wanted to play music and was kind of passive about getting into it. And then I met the kid who was in that band with me, and he had guitars and an older brother and stuff. And
That's awesome.
One thing led to another.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. So, okay, so that's the story of your first show. What was the first show for this band for you?
So DC has also been one of those bands that's had a lot of different members and different.
Oh, yeah,
variations.
Tsunami Bomb's very familiar with that.
Yeah, totally. But Hunter, who's our drummer, he started this band when he was in high school. He played guitar and he was the singer. And it was a bunch of kids his age who were all still friends with most of them. Cody Fleshman's a good friend of ours. He was like one of the original DC guys. And they toured and did their thing. And through enough, changes, eventually their original drummer, Ben Wright, who's a really great musician, left the band. And it was like a new band where Hunter switched to drums.
Mm-hmm.
And they had already toured a lot and kind of had their name out there, but they picked me up, and Alex was already kind of in the band, and Tristan was already in the band at that time. So it was like kind of like a thing, and we recorded a 7-inch before we played a show, and then we just put the 7-inch out. It was a split with the Screaming Mimes, and we went on like a big long US tour. So our first show was in Santa Rosa.
I thought we were the only band dumb enough to tour behind a 7-inch for their first releases.
I thought it was we still have a shit ton of those 7-inches, so maybe it wasn't the best move.
It took forever to get rid of them, and then now they go for big money. Like people are like, "Oh, do you have one of those?" I was like, "Motherfucker, I tried to sell these for $3." And
I don't think ours are going for big money, and I got a bunch of them. If anybody wants to give me some big money.
So there you have it. If you contact them, if you want to get one before they're big, they're not collectible until they are. Once they're gone, then they're collectible. Then everybody wants them. Like while you have them,
there's only like a few hundred or maybe 1,000 of them or something like that. But
nobody wants them when you have them. Everybody wants them when they're gone. I promise you.
It was how it works. It was a good first show. It was like we're again, they were already a band, but it was kind of like the reformation of the band, and we're in different bands in Santa Rosa scene, which is a pretty supportive scene. And there was a good little spot at the time for little shows like this. So we had like our tour kickoff show, which was my first show with the band.
That is awesome. I love that you went on tour with the band behind a 7-inch. And that was pretty much your first there. The band is like, okay, we're going. How long was the tour again?
Oh, it was a long one. It was like a month and a half, 2 months.
Oh yeah, 6 weeks, just 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, that's a long.
We did like and it was in winter time, so we went into like the Midwest and Chicago and stuff in February. Cold. It was very cold. You
realize real quick what a winter coat really is, and that as a Californian you don't have.
We're just a car full of California boys.
When I got my first exposure on tour, where I was like, "Oh, it's cool. Like I got a hoodie and a leather jacket. I'll be fine." And like my friends there were like, "No, you're not."
No, yeah, it's very cold. Even if you think you like cold stuff,
yeah,
it's way colder out there.
It's an arresting like reality slap, because you're used to like cold days out here, and you're like, "Oh, it's cold, but I layered. I'm fine." It's like there, it's like
on today.
Yeah, yeah. I got a hoodie. I got a shiver. Oh my god, I got a hoodie and a jacket. I'm bundled up. But out Midwest and the East Coast, like no, it's cold. But that's awesome. So your first thing was jumping into a tour. Had you toured before that?
I had toured.
Okay, so you were ready. You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah, I was ready, and I toured with these guys. Like I said, we were all in different bands and different formations of different bands. So we had been on the road together in different outfits.
What was the venue of the first show?
It was a tap room in Santa Rosa called Spranger's.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they did a lot of.
I'm a Sonoma County kid. I don't live there anymore, but I used to.
Yeah, it was just they were just doing like a lot of local shows. It was like a Tuesday night thing that like all the bands in town caught on to, and it was a cheap beer night, and they were letting us do shows, and that happened for a couple of years, just like any other kind of little local venue thing does.
Yeah.
And then
awesome.
Sputtered out.
Well, here you are. So there you go. Like you started in junior high and immediately seduced your classmates with Smells Like Teen Spirit. You caught the bug. You kept going with music.
You got to give the people what the people want.
Yeah. And then Decent Criminals seduced you with like, hey, we're going on the road. And you're like, let's go.
No, it was, you know, I'd always, Tristan had a different band called Violation, and I had a different band at the time, and we did tons of shows, and he joined Decent Criminal and kind of took over as the main songwriter. And when they asked me to join, I was like, of course, like I'm about this band. And then we were in like the kind of music that we play is a little different than what and our other bands had played at the time, but it's, you know, if you listen to our band, it's like, it's what all of us want to be playing. It's what we like to listen to and what we enjoy doing. So it was a no-brainer.
So I'm going to actually throw in a bonus question because I don't normally do this, but because your band came out of the same scene that formed my band, I'm going to ask like, how do you feel like about the Sonoma County scene in the last couple of years? Like, I mean, not now doesn't count. Nothing's happening. But generally speaking, like I always found it to be one of the things that made it most interesting to me, just so I can set up this question of why I'm asking it. It's like, at least when my band started, like everybody was doing crazy different bands. Like everybody was doing, it was all crazy stuff. Everyone was trying to be very unique sounding and very different sounding. So, you know, when we were in the wake of like AFI getting bigger, you know, it's like Tiger Army was starting to, all the Ukiah kids were starting to take off. But there was a big scene, like, you know, the Conspiracy, it was a ska band in Petaluma, and I think they were kind of coming to an end, but their era had been so, you know, they were headlining all the time. And then there were just, I was in a band with their guitar player, Tyler. Oh, right on. Nice. Yeah. And it was just like, it seemed like everybody was really creative, and it was like competitive in a sense of like, you were all trying to do something really different and interesting and build your own crowd. Like when we started, our huge goal was to headline the Phoenix Theater in Petaluma. That's all we wanted to do. That's all we wanted to be able to do. And then after that, it was like, I want to be on Lookout Records. And then it was Lookout Records was no more by the time we got anywhere, like got even anything. So it was like, those were our goals, but like, it was always a really cool scene to come up in. How is it now? Like you guys started later. So like, how do you feel about the Sonoma County scene at this point? Only because we're from the same scene. Yeah.
Well, I'm a Sonoma County transplant. I moved up there in 2003, and I really, really was into the music scene there. I think it I was from San Jose, and I had a hard time figuring out what the music scene was in San Jose. I mean,
it's kind of tricky in San Jose because it kind of depends on if there's a band around that is putting on shows. Like in the early days, I remember Boy Kicks Girl, Brett would throw on shows at the Campbell Theater. He'd put them on anywhere.
Like the Gaslighter.
The Gaslighter, like everything. Yeah. But then if you don't have a guy like that, a guy or girl throwing on shows in San Jose, like it seemed like no shows would happen. I
think we were just kind of like the bands I was in high school never quite caught the storm, like caught the wind of what was going on. We were never a big part of what was going on in San Jose, and maybe I was just like trying to figure out. I don't know. It was tougher back then to tap into what was going on.
Right.
But Sonoma County, once I moved up there, I think you said a lot of words that I say all the time. Like it's very competitive, in like the best way. Like you can't just be a shitty band in Sonoma County.
No,
you have to be really good, or else no one's going to watch your show.
Yeah, because there's so many good musicians, so many good bands that get formed, and you're like, oh my God, this is great. Like, and you want to do better.
Yeah, like really, you know, a lot of great bands come out of Sonoma County, and it's I don't know. I think it's a pretty unique spot in the Bay Area just because it's far enough away from like San Francisco and Oakland that it needs its own thing going on. Because I live in Marin right now, and I can't figure out like what the beat of Marin is for music. It's like you're in a good band here when you're a kid, you probably play in San Francisco all the time or Oakland.
Right.
And that's where it's at. So.
Yeah, I would say that's probably true. There's some great venues in Marin, but they're more catered towards older musicians and 21.
It's like blues and jazz and like Grateful Dead stuff.
Like there's a lot of really great blues and jazz and country musicians hidden in the hills in Marin and Sonoma County. So if you know where to look, you can like show like, well, at least in normal times, you can show up and see like some amazing shows if you're aware of those people who are like, that's like a big time dude playing with like that other big time dude, and they're doing a show at this tiny little place, and they do that stuff all the time. But if you're in the punk scene or you're in like the heavier younger edge stuff,
Sonoma County's where it's at.
Yeah, Sonoma County has a lot more opportunity for that, but also you have to be interesting, and I think that's only gotten more so. And like, you know, I don't know if one of the things that I don't know if they still do this, I feel like maybe not, but when I was younger and we would put on shows in Sonoma County all the time, the purpose was to get as many different bands as possible onto a bill to like, you know, you wanted that ska band to bring their like 20 fans, and you wanted this weird like jazzy funk band playing crazy rock. And then there was this hardcore metal band, and then there would be like this pop punk band, and you guys all would throw a show together and try and just get a bunch of people to hang out at your show and play to as many people as possible, and the crowds would weave out. I think as years have passed, people have kind of gone into their own little niches, and I think that's a mistake, you know, where it's all hardcore, it's all metal, it's all rock, it's all punk, and it's like, yeah, you want to mix it up because it's challenging, but it's more interesting. But that's the only thing I've seen. I mean, I'm down in Berkeley now, so I'm not in Sonoma County anymore.
Yeah, I think our well, when I was in Sonoma County, it was more nichey a little bit. Like it just seemed like, but I think that's just like a sign of the times more than everything. Like,
yeah, it's like that everywhere. Everybody's doing
it. But and I think, you know, I think with Sonoma County, because it's so small, I think every band has the issue of if they oversaturate that market, which is a great market. Like you want to play for those kids. There's a lot of like houses you could play and just kind of cool spots every now. I mean, there's still some cool spots that are here and there and everywhere up there, but you can't overdo it. Even if, you know, you're the best local band in town, like people are gonna sick of seeing your name on the flyer outside the coffee shop. Right?
Yeah, you got to hold back. I think that's another thing that I see now. Oh, well, I don't see. I keep feeling like that's what I see now. No, I don't see anything now. I would kill to see anything. But right now, but in the last couple of years, I've noticed all over, I constantly am telling young bands, like, people ask, like, how do I get like you guys? You know, you guys are pulling crowds, and how do I get bigger? How do I get signed to a label? And I'm like, dude, stop playing an opening of an envelope. Like, you got to build up excitement for your shows. Like at first, when you first start, like play anything you can. Who cares? Nobody knows who you are. Play all the time. But then at a certain point, when you start bringing people in and your friends are like all coming to your show, you're going to have to hold it back a little bit and then build a better show in an area so that you can like draw that larger crowd. I know so many great bands in the Bay Area, in the San Francisco Bay Area, that like draw 50 to 100 to 150 people tops. And then they kind of they're just stuck there. And I was like, dude, you're only playing here and people are seeing you too much. It's like, one, you always have to have something going on to tell people, like both for your bandmates and for your audience, where you're like, well, we have a 7-inch coming out. Okay, we have a video coming. There's an album coming. We're going on tour. Like you have all these things that you lead people towards. But like so many people, I don't think like that, and they play every show they can, and they just keep doing it, and eventually people, you know, will start not showing up and hanging out, watch Netflix, because it's like, you always play, they can see you anytime. So you know what I mean? And you don't want that with your friends and the people that follow your band. You don't want them to go like, you want them to go like, oh dude, you're playing, I'll be there, you know. And I think that people have a hard time doing that nowadays.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. You know, it's it's a delicate dance because it's exciting. You want to play shows. Someone asks you to play a show, you get excited. You want to do it. And I think that's one of the things about our band that's we kind of have the luxury of not being in that position because we're all over the place. We have two guys in San Diego right now. We have one guy in LA, and I'm up in the Bay Area. So it's like we don't just have a local show we could go play.
No, you can't. So, it does that. Tsunami Bomb has a similar problem. We are not going to overplay. We're spread out. We're spread out over the Bay Area, and then we have one member in New York. So, yeah. All right. Well, I know that interests like literally nobody listening, but I was curious on your take of the scene that we both came from as far as our bands go.
Yeah, just to sum it up, like I think I stuck in Sonoma County so long, like against all my best interests as an adult to get a job or this or that because the music scene was so good. And it's just like the bands were good up there. I was always in a band and I always enjoyed being there as like the heart of where my music was being created and taking it other places. So there's something really special up there, like if you watch that Muscle Shoals documentary, I don't know if you've seen that, but
no,
like,
I haven't.
It's about like a music studio in Alabama. You should check it out. And like the people who have been there, who are like amazing, famous people you've heard of, say there's just something special there. There's something special in Sonoma County for music.
I think so too. For me, I think so too. I think it really is about the bands that have come up there, and there's like even the bands that no one's ever heard of that I can name that nobody will care about that you might not even have heard of. But I'm like, these were great bands people really loved. There were super dedicated fan bases. Just it was a regional thing, and it's like they didn't tour or they toured once, but they were great. And I still listen to them to this day. Anyway, enough about that because nobody knows, it's like Sonoma County. Okay. We're talking Bay Area stuff, but for everybody else, it's an area just north of San Francisco, just far enough to be interesting.
We could go on for hours, but
yeah, it's kicked out a lot of bands and a lot of different scenes. It's like it's not just punk, but there's been a lot of bands that came out of that area that did pretty well.
And really, I gotta add this, and if we're gonna talk about it, like when I was 19, I moved up there and I was trying to find a band to be in after this high school band that I mentioned earlier, and like I found a band on Craigslist. They were 35-year-old punk rockers, and I'm still like great friends with those guys. And
that's awesome.
Snag was the name of the band that I was in with them.
Nice.
And it was just, they really introduced me to Sonoma County and like the history of, because they were there through all of it. They're like Operation Ivy played at this little wall right here, and we played with Green Day, over here at the River Theater and all this crap. So it's just like, cool. It's cool to like have friends from that area who were there for like the real deal stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And there's just like there's a continuous timeline through punks, like there's always like a younger dude you introduce who's connected to the older guy, and like there's no like definitive line. It's like
ideally, yeah. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if those are your first shows, and that's the state of Sonoma County, what is one of the best shows that you've ever played? And I generally tell people to think of the show that made you go, yes, this is everything I wanted. This is why I put up with all of this. So what's a good story of a great show?
So with DC, we were able to go to like Europe last summer, 2 summers ago, 2019.
I know. I do that too. I keep going, yeah, well, we just played last 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's just like everything. It's like we just had this show.
Yeah.
2 years ago. But
so bad.
But just like a lot of, I think the way that any band would plan a tour, it was around like this festival appearance at the end of it, like in Paris. And we booked most of the tour through this French booking company called Pressure Booking, where they're very cool. So a lot of our shows were in France and on their little circuit that their bands run. So it was very, we met all these great people along the way, and they'd be like, well, what other shows do you have? And we kept saying like, oh, we have this is my fest. in Paris. And every single person was like, oh yes, you will have a great time at This Is My Fest. Every single person we met. And, you know, you have all these different people hosting shows and making you dinners along the way for a month of pretty successful little DIY shows everywhere we went. And we played a couple festivals that were pretty good and this and that. And then we finally get to the show in Paris. And it was kind of like this, spiritual moment where all these people we had met along the way who kept saying like, oh yeah, it's a great festival. They were all there.
That's why they liked it. They're like, oh, I go.
No, and there was, you know, these people we met in this little tiny town, this little coastal town, like 1,000 miles away. They were like the cooks at this festival, and they like hugged us, and like we met all these people, and like we're playing for like one of the biggest crowds we've ever played for ever, and like all these people who are crowd surfing are like the people who threw these different shows for us and everything like that. So I think all of us were very satisfied to play that show. And
that's so awesome.
It was great. Yeah.
I have to say, a lot of the people I talk to will say one of the best shows they've ever played was in Europe. Why do you think that is?
I think Europe's just more into rock and roll in general. So like, you know, just throwing a rock and roll show on a Tuesday night there's a better reception for it. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's in my very limited experience. It's just a more rockin' place.
Yeah. It's interesting. So many people have been on the show and said Europe. And I have to say, I had some amazing shows in Europe myself, so I get it. That's awesome. So, okay, so that's your greatest show. So in response to that, of course, I have to ask the last question of the show, which is, what was the worst experience that you've had? And by this, I mean a moment where you were just like, I just want to go home. Why am I doing this? What am I doing? Like a kind of night that makes you just like question yourself, like, why am I going through all this trouble? What would have been a moment like that for you?
Yeah, well, Decent Criminal kind of has like a famous worst show.
Does it? Oh, so all of you guys, if I talk to everybody, you'd all say this show?
Yeah, and it was my fault. So I think it was
your fault. What did you do?
You know, in part it was my fault, but it was just like our ultimate worst show ever, and it was at Fest 16.
Oh no, at Fest, huh? Those are supposed to be great ones.
Well, it was supposed to be a great one. It sure was. But I don't know, like Fest was everything it's supposed to be. It was this amazing festival of super positive punk rockers and
taking over town.
Like, really cheap PBRs and shows at every stop, and it was awesome. And like I was, you know, dealing with my own stuff at the time, flew out there and was like just looking to party and stuff. And we were supposed to play Friday, which is the first day of it.
Yeah.
And we got in Thursday night and just partied too hard. And you know, when I got up on stage, there's like these backline amps and the orange, like the input is like, it's messed up. And I'm like, hey, this input's messed up to the sound person. And they're like, it's cool. Just like, you know, make it work.
I can't help you make it work.
I was like, all right, I'll do my best. Cause I was feeling pretty good at that moment in time. I was like, of course, like we could overcome anything. We're a big team here putting on a great rock show. Look at all these people out here. And then, so the show started. We're rocking out, and you know, just kept cutting in and out, and I was like really messed up. Like I was drinking a lot and I was partying too hard, and I just like flipped out on stage and started breaking my guitar and stuff.
Oh no.
And it was like totally out of character. Like I've been in a band before where a guy like planned to do that, and he was like, dude, I got my Squire buddy guy Strat. I'm gonna break it tonight.
Oh no.
I'm gonna rock out. But this was like totally unplanned. It's out of character, but I just did it. And it's like, I was like, in the moment, I was like, my guitar's cutting out. Like, what should I do? This is the only thing I could think of doing. And it's like, people were like, oh my God, this is horrible. And Hunter, and like, I was like screaming into the microphone and just being a belligerent dickhead. And Hunter was like, dude, get the fuck off the stage. And I just like walked off the stage like before our set was done. And we've never been welcomed back to Fest. Like we got like hooked up with a book. Like luckily most things went forward coolly and calmly, but like we had a booking agent who tried to get us on Fest the next year, and like every band he submitted, they were like, yeah, sure. Decent Criminal? Fuck no. So like Fest, you know, we love Fest and like obviously understand why they're mad at us, but or me or whatever, but we've never been invited back to Fest because of that.
Oh no, man.
So that's a pretty bad one.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it was really bad. It was really embarrassing. It was probably like the most embarrassing thing I've ever done in my entire life.
It's so funny because I was just having a conversation about this online about pet peeves, and I was talking about smashing instruments being something that I you know, if you're gonna do it. If it's up to you, it's your shit. But the best moments ever of it are generally somewhat planned, but very much genuine. Like the Who, for example, they would switch out their instruments to the shit instruments. Each side would be a shitty drum kit, and they would just smash the shit out of everything because it was a statement. We're not doing an encore. We're not playing anymore. It's over. And like, I'm pretty sure they had to eventually like bring out their own PA. I'm sure they paid for a lot of PAs in their time, but like they smashed the shit out of everything. It wasn't fake. They were meant it and they were serious. But I also see people who smash instruments who try and force it. And it's always awkward because it's like, what are you doing? Like, it's not that cool. You know what I mean? It's like, it's only cool if you really mean it. Like, and then there's the third one where it's somebody who truly means it, but it's kind of actually terrible. And like a story that's similar to yours is actually Paul Simeon from the Clash. When he smashed his bass, they got that famous picture of him lifting it over his head and bringing it down and smashing the shit out of it. And he was having just a little bit of trouble cutting in and out. Same kind of thing. He's a bit drunk, smashed his bass. They got that legendary photograph that looks so fucking cool. But in reality, after he did it, he looked down at his bass and went, oh, that's my only bass. What have I done? Why did I do that? And I found out about this story because I went to the Rock and Roll Museum, Hall of Fame, whatever. And his bass was there. And I turned to my bandmates and I was like, the only reason all of those pieces are still together is he was horrified and he put it in the case and he's like, maybe I can fix it, because he was bummed. Because you don't keep that if you don't care. You know?
Two things. Sorry to cut you off.
No, this is a conversation.
During this episode I was having on stage, they caught like an identical photo. And we have like a t-shirt of the London Calling thing of it. We were able to like joke about it after the fact.
Right.
But yeah, I still have that fucking guitar in a case in my closet right over here. Like,
because it's a bummer.
In case I could fix it one day.
Yeah, because it's a bummer to do that. And you're bummed when you smash it and you're like, no, what have I done? And it's honestly, the way the Clash tell that story, that show was not like, yes, it's more like how you tell it. It was like, oh god, they had to run out and get a new bass the next day. Everyone was pissed.
No, this was like one of the big turning points for our band. Like after that, like there was like obviously deeper stuff going on with the band and me personally. Like Alex, our bass player, that was his last show with us, I think.
Oh really?
Yeah. And
what a way to go.
Well, I think maybe we played one more show with him, but he had just joined Toy Guitar, and there was just like we weren't able to practice because he was living in the Bay, and at that time we were all living in Southern California, and it was just a really messy set even before this happened. And like, you know, it was kind of like, if anything, like it was a really like come to Jesus moment for the band, where Hunter really kind of took control and was like, dude, don't fuck this up for me. What the fuck are you doing? You know, and like we really were kind of fucking up our first cool opportunity. We were at Fest. It was our first big festival. We were able to really straighten it out, and I didn't drink for an more than a year after that. Like starting that night. So that was my first day at Fest. I did the rest of the Fest.
Sometimes they just don't go well. Like I put on an Alternative Tentacles festival, 2 days, both sold out. Triumph, for AT, and Tsunami Bomb played its release show for The Spine That Binds. And I have to say that every single thing that could go wrong went wrong. People were in a bad mood. Things were sloppy. Stuff just didn't work. Sound problems, instrument problems. My wireless cut out. Everybody else's good amp was off. Things were weird and couldn't hear each other. And literally it was awful. And we had to sit down and be like, the band before us had just did this incredible Arnochord. They did this incredible show.
Hold on, this is your fest show you're talking about?
It was called Tentacle Fest.
Okay.
And we put it on in Berkeley. And it was
I remember seeing the lineup for that. I was like, that's great.
It was fantastic. It was a terrible show for Tsunami Bomb. And in fact, when I look back on the show, I see it was recorded. When you clip out, like, when we just play, we do pretty good. But like, we're having so many problems between each song. We're stopping between each song. Everything's like miscommunications. We literally sat down and everybody was like, we're not doing anything like that again. And the worst part about it was I have seen I don't know. I haven't seen comments. It's not like a lot of people, but I saw a straight up comment that was like, yeah, man, I saw Tsunami Bomb and they played with Arnochord and Arnochord blew them off the stage. And I don't know, like, everyone has a bad night, but that was a real bad night. That was pretty rough. I don't know how good that band is. And it's like, I just think, you don't know. We have other better nights. I swear to God, that was just a really not good night. Like, and they happen. Like, things just don't fit that time, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's different when you're on tour. Like, you have a night like that. The next night could kick ass, and you were like, okay, I'm fine. Like, okay, we're all good. Like, but like when it's like you fly out to Fest and you go play that show and you're all excited. We were totally stoked to play this big show with all these other AT bands. We were headlining one of the nights. It was super stoked. And then we just struggled to get through it. And you're just like, and then you all go home. It's not like there's no show tomorrow. Like, You're just like, why? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was a bummer, but I mean, it was like a really big, important thing because I think we hadn't set any boundaries with each other before that, and it was kind of like, we're gonna take this a little bit more seriously from this point on. You
should submit yourself under a new name to Fest.
Yeah.
Well, just be Criminal Decent.
We probably should.
Just be like, hey, we're Criminal Decent. We'd like to play Fest. We've never played it before. We've always wanted to. Just pretend you're somebody else.
I've had other friends who have bands that go there say that they want to like sneak me in as like a secret member of the band or something like that. So I could.
You're clearly memorable.
So no, not if I'm like dressed up in caricature or something.
But I mean, you're
one of those wrestling bands.
Like, hey, your live show was memorable. Fest has never forgotten it.
No, for sure, they haven't forgotten it, but they also like are comfortable saying like we don't want those guys back right now, and I understand. I mean, I just think like I didn't. It was my first day at Fest, and I didn't read the room quite right, but then I spent the rest of the weekend there, and like it's the most peaceful, like happy bunch of people ever, and that's like the most out of character thing you could do there, and I am remorseful.
Well, if you can't have the show you want, you might as well give them something to talk about after you're done. And
right, yeah, people were talking about it, and I can't tell you how many people have come up to me, like completely people all over the place, different people who are like, are you sure it wasn't your cable? Like, so many people were. I feel like there was almost like a little like discussion where like people got together and talked about it, because I still use the cable. It's sitting right next to me right now.
Oh, so the cable was okay.
The cable works fine. It's a lava cable. They're great cables. And somebody was like, not somebody, like a million people have been like, are you sure it wasn't just your cable and not the amp? Like, no, the amp was shoddy.
I called to say you'll always be a son among the
listening to Brian Gellman, guitarist, vocalist of Decent Criminal. Want to find out more about Decent Criminal? Check out their website at facebook.com/decentcriminal08. You should check out their brand new EP called DCEP, out now on Sell the Heart Records. You want to know more about my podcast 3 Gigs? Check out our website at 3gigspodcast.com. And if you have a moment and use iTunes, please leave the show a rating and review on our iTunes page by looking for the 3 Gigs podcast. But really, no matter what podcast platform you might be listening on, if you could do me a favor, if you love this show, tell one person, just one person about the show. Someone you think that would enjoy hearing about stories from tours and shows and good shows, bad shows, the whole bit. Just share it with one person and see if they like it. That would do more for me than any review on any platform ever. I appreciate it. We opened and we're closing the show with the song Bizarre by Decent Criminal off their brand new EP, DC, out now on Sell the Heart Records. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Said it's all the same to me. I could not repeat, man. I could not repeat. Yeah, I could not repeat.